bearing in mind that during this pandemic, many people lost their jobs. Small businesses that make up, of course, the working middle class in the United States have gone out of business. Many of them did not have a chance. I know certain business owners here in South Florida that they just simply could not have access to these loans, to these grants, to these government funds. And yet we can read on the news how big corporations in the United States have actually made a ton of more money. Amazon is just skyrocketing. I would not want to live in the United States, in which Amazon basically does all of our services. Do you suppose then that because of this pandemic, it's now more urgent, or it's going to be more difficult, just fighting to protect workers' rights? How do you see like the immediate future? I mean, what kind of outcomes can we expect that perhaps this pandemic and now with this social unrest, with the protests, are kind of accelerating? What do you think is the immediate result of all of this, of this whole scenario, of people not really knowing what they're going to do with their lives? Like, I know young people that are saying, well, I had it difficult before. I don't know now what kind of job I'm going to get. What kind of industry should I go into? And people who are stuck paying student loans, what are they now going to do? So a lot of people are just wanting to look for some guidance. What do we do from this point on? And I don't mean, of course, just at the electoral level, which I would love to get your opinion on, what you think the average voter can do to vote his way out of these problems. So what are your predictions?
Well, if you look at the United States the way it is right now, we are facing an economic meltdown as a result of this pandemic, but as a result of bigger problems in the lead up to it. The fact that we have a gig economy where people don't have regular employment. They work as Uber drivers. They work when they can get it. So many people are just left behind. This isn't going to work. And I mean, I have said that there are 4 dramatic steps that could be taken that would lead to re-energizing the U.S. economy. The first would be a mass jobs program. Hire millions of young people and put them to work, rebuilding the roads, rebuilding the power plants, rebuilding the water treatment facilities, building new universities and new schools, new post offices, all the things that are falling apart all across the United States. Hire young people, pay them a decent wage to build it. The second thing, and I guess you ask how we're going to pay for it, should be public control of oil and natural gas and coal and timber, natural resources, right? The wealth of the earth of the country of the United States of America should belong to the people of the United States of America. All across this country, there's all kinds of fracking going on, right? Where big banks and corporations are making lots of money off the oil and gas underneath our feet, while a lot of the very states where all these profits are being made are economically falling apart. It should be the American people and the country as a whole that profits from our oil and our natural gas, our coal, our timber. All of our natural resources should be publicly controlled. The profits from them should go into the public budget. That's step number 2. Step number 3 is banking, right? Mm-hmm. And people want to talk about communism and socialism. You forget all of that, right? Read the Bible, read the Quran, read the Talmud, right, and the Torah. They all say that lending money at interest is not acceptable. And there's a reason for that. Because when you lend money at interest, you get a group of people who make money by having money. They lent you money, you paid it back, they have money. They didn't create anything in the process. And pretty soon they're wealthier than everyone else. And everyone is in debt to them. And governments get in debt to them. And you have a big problem. Well, the Constitution of the United States says that the printing of money should be in the hands not of a private corporation like the Federal Reserve, but in the hands of the government, of the people, right? Mm-hmm. And so we need to have banking under public control. It needs to be a situation where the state lends money, and it lends money on the basis of doing what is in the interest of the country overall, right? If someone wants to open a business, they need to make the case that it's good for the community to do it. They should get their loan, and then when they pay it back, the interest goes into the public budget so we can build more schools, more hospitals, more education. That would be step number 3, public control of banking. And the 4th step would be to enact Franklin Delano Roosevelt's Economic Bill of Rights. Guarantee everyone the right to a job, the right to housing, the right to education, right? And make it the priority of the government to ensure that people have access to jobs and housing and education and all the things they need to get by. If we took those 4 steps, right? If the country were re-energized with a mass public construction program, if we took public control over our natural resources, if we organized banking to serve the public and put it in public hands, and then if we started ensuring an economic Bill of Rights, this country would blossom. It would boom. It would be like a renaissance here. Those 4 steps would save the country, and those 4 steps would basically involve us becoming a socialist country at that point. We would have a planned economy, not an economy that's organized to serve profits.